How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. So in this video I'm gonna take a look at the xDSD from iFi. So this is it right here. Now before we start, this was sent over to me from iFi and I have to send it back. I'm not being paid to do this review. Okay, the xDSD is the first product on iFi's brand new lineup called the X series, right? The X series right over here. So this is a device pointed at the portable high-end USB DAC market. So obviously you have normal DACs that you can get for £100 like the Dragonfly, and as it gets more expensive, the highest end ones cost like 500, which is like the Chord MOJO over here. And this one is basically pointed towards the high-end market like the Chord MOJO and the Oppo H2, but it costs much less. And also along with that, compared to the Nano and the Micro black labels, this is actually much smaller. As you can see, it fits much more nicely in the hand and it has a bit of a different design. So let's just get into the specs and all that, and we'll talk about this because I want to make this quick. And I'm telling you one thing, it's not going to be a quick video because this is an audio product. So first thing I like about it is that it's small. It's much smaller than the black label and black labels, both of them, the Nano and the Micro. As you can see, the design is a little weird. It's new and I like it personally. I think it's something new. Of course, when everything new comes into the market, people don't like it, but I actually like it. It's made out of metal, feels really sturdy, and it's really light. The Mojo is a little bit heavy. Oh, by the way, I'll be comparing the two, but I'll do that later on in the video because this is a competitor right up against the Chord MOJO. In fact, I'll go ahead and as far as to say that it copies some things from it. So as you can see, the feet at the bottom are pretty much exactly the same. The LED indicator on the battery and stuff, they're all pretty much the same. And then he also uses volume gain knobs that indicate using the colors, which the Mojo does as well. Now it is a fingerprint magnet, so as you can see, I don't like that, but it actually looks more nice, but whatever. And there's some hi-fi audio sticker over here because it does all the way up to 768 kilohertz 32-bit PCM, and it does DSD up to 512, just like the Mojo. So it's basically a Mojo, just cheaper. But I'll get to the sound quality and all that later on, and I'll compare it to the Mojo as well. Let's take a look around it. So at the front here, you've got this input, and they call this the S-balanced input, I believe. Now this is basically used for balanced headphones, also unbalanced headphones, and you can actually set this as a line out, 2.1 volts or something. And then if it isn't line out, where the volume doesn't really work and it is really loud, do not plug your headphones into it. So this is like a hybrid all-in-one 3.5mm headphone now. So you can use this line out, and with all the other headphones you can find, you got two indicators. I'll go ahead and turn it on. You press and hold this button and it turns on. The input indicator tells you if there is an input. Right now there isn't. And then there's a kilohertz, which is the quality that the input is coming into. And then there's two little options over here. These are basically X bass and 3D plus thingy. I'll get to these later on. They change how the audio sounds, and you can say the X boost is more of a bass boost because that's what it is. Now there's also a volume knob which it clicks and is really nice, and also there's a button in the middle, so you can go ahead and press that. And then there's obviously the settings button which changes the LED on the side. So on the left and the right side you've got nothing but that one sticker. On the bottom you've got the feet, and on the top you've got nothing. Now at the back is all the inputs and outputs, and this device does really look nice. So you have a speed of in, and that goes up to 24-bit 192 kilohertz. Don't know about the DSD bit. This is a full-size USB for input, so you can connect this up to your PC, your phone or whatever. I've been using this little cable over here to USB-C, and you can use this with your smartphone or with the music player, which I've been using with. Then you have the filter, which I'll talk about later on, and then you have the LED indicator as well as the 5-volt charging input. So this is only for charging, not for input. To turn it on, you basically press and hold this button. So now it's turned on, and if you plug something into it, which I'm gonna do right now, plug this music player into it, this goes into this port, and it comes with a blue cable. So now that will connect up to here, and then this should say portable thing connected, and there's a signal coming in, and that's the volume. Oops, is it too loud? Why is it going okay, so this thing, this headphone input is actually smart, I guess you can say, because there's actually a CPU inside here. There's a software going on inside this thing that kind of measures the impedance and everything on the headphones, and they adjust everything accordingly. So now it's playing there's a input coming in, and the input indicates white, and then there's the kilohertz, which is green. If I press this, it starts blinking, and that basically means it's muted. So you can press it again, and the audio is coming through again. You can adjust the volume, and this is basically just like the Mojo. As you can see, it changes the color of the LED, and it clicks as well. Now they say that this is analog and they have digital control over it, so this is endless, right? This keeps going. There's no stop to this, and it kind of accelerates as well, in case you're wondering. Now the X bass thing does a bass boost, and the X 3D thing does something really special, and makes it as if you're listening to two speakers in your head. So it pushes the audio forward, and this fixes some issues with old music which was recorded to be played on speakers and not headphones. So it all kind of sounds unnatural, and basically all the instruments are on the left side and the vocals are on the right, just to kind of give you a stereo image of what they kind of used to do back then. And it wasn't really made for headphones, so this kind of pushes it forward and it fixes that, and it does a really good job at that. So this is how it's connected up, basically. Now it also has Bluetooth, by the way, and it will change the input. Oops. Okay, let's talk about battery life. Now this thing takes about 2 hours to charge with a 2-amp charger, and it lasts about 10 hours or so. Now it has a Burr Brown DAC chip inside, which goes up to again 768 kilohertz and DSD 512, and I believe the name is DSD 1793. Now the components inside this whole thing are fully analog, so all the filters and everything, they're all analog over here, so you don't need to like worry about degrading sound quality if you use bass boost or whatever. It doesn't degrade sound quality in any way. Now as you can see, I've been having this weird problem where it just keeps disconnecting, and I'll get onto that later on. And it also has CyberDrive system, which I'll talk about in a bit, and it also has a femto precision AMR clock to correct timing and jitter errors, which is working really well. Now I want to quickly talk about the filters. I'll just go ahead and unplug this, and I'll go ahead and turn this off. Now the filters, the two filters back over here, you have measure and then listen. Now at first when I got this device, it was really confusing. I had no idea what they were. But now I've gotten around to it and I know what they are. So the measure is a linear filter and the listen is a minimum phase filter. And for those of you who don't know what that is, listen is basically a filter that reduces the decay of instruments and everything, and in a result, some people like the kind of sound. Personally I don't, so I've been listening to measure, which is linear, which is like completely flat, right? Like on the EQ is like completely flat. Now listen, also known as a minimum phase filter, reduces the decay and it results in a much more detailed, much more crisp sound, because everything it has a lot more separation into it, because there is no atmosphere. It kind of gets rid of that, and it's because the atmosphere in the music comes from the instruments echoing us to them, and it kind of gets rid of that. It tightens things up a lot more, and some people like that sound. Unfortunately, I don't like it. I am more of a linear guy, and the Mojo is somewhere in between these two filters. So that's a bit funny, but it just kind of doesn't mess around with the decay. That's what I kind of heard. So everything kind of pops in and just goes out instantly. None of the frequencies mess around with the others and just kind of play around with them. It's kind of missing the atmosphere in the music for me personally. But some people do like the sound. In my opinion, personally, I think they're retarded, but we'll all just roll with that. Back onto the operation. Now to get into Bluetooth mode, you have to hold this down, and basically when you hold it down, it cycles through the mode. So you have the wired mode, which is green, then there's the blue, which is Bluetooth mode, and then that's basically it. But if you turn this off, so let's go ahead and turn it on and go into Bluetooth mode. It's gonna go to blue, you just keep it held and it goes to blue, and that basically means it's in Bluetooth mode. And one of the things I like about this when it's in Bluetooth mode, so now it's in pairing mode. So if I go into your phone, and if you go into Bluetooth, it should pop up over here. Hopefully, no pair device is available. Okay, we'll go to the settings. So as you can see, it's popped up as iFi aptX device, and basically this thing has some amazing Bluetooth inside. So now that that's connected, what's gonna happen is all your audio is gonna go through to your xDSD, and then you can plug your headphone into the xDSD, and then you can listen like that. So now that's connected, and all the sound that comes through, it is lossy, but it sounds quite nice. They say it's aptX thingy is like good enough for CD quality output, and yes, definitely it is really nice quality. But in my opinion, it sounds dead because it's only 44.1 kilohertz and it's 48 kilohertz in HQ mode. But even that is not that great. I mean, if you have 96 kilohertz file that's going out in 48 kilohertz, which isn't bad, I mean, you know, but they are compressed. They have some lossy compression, so they are lossy files. So there's that. But Bluetooth works, and I'm really impressed with the sound quality that comes out of this in Bluetooth. Let's go ahead and disconnect that. So to turn it off, you go ahead and hold this down, and it should kind of do the whites turn off. Now let's talk about line out mode. So to get to line out mode, you have to hold this down and then press this until it all goes white. Okay, so you have to basically hold this down and then press it, and when this goes white, that basically means it's in line out mode. Now in line out mode, I think you can use in Bluetooth unwired mode. So you can have Bluetooth connected to this, and this does a line out to your hi-fi system or whatever. Let's go ahead and turn line mode off. To do that, you have to hold this down and then just go into a different mode, and it should turn line out mode off. So there we go, now it's off. Now I don't personally use line out mode because just in case I can't really get back to normal mode. So this is the normal mode. Let me go over the indicators. So obviously the LED indicates the volume and it changes the color. So the modes are over here, obviously Bluetooth, wireless, and then wired. LED indicators for the volume knob over here are over these, so you can pause this and read that. Now this device is jam-packed with features. So it's fully analog. It's got the CyberDrive system, which basically is like an operating system inside this device, and that kind of if you plug in IEMs, it's gonna recognize that and it's gonna load the output. And if you put in high-end monitors or something over the ear headphones, it's gonna adjust to that, so you don't have to mess around with this thing. It just adjusts accordingly. Now let's talk about sound quality, and here I'm gonna compare it to the Mojo. Now the sound quality is really good. Now let's talk about the bass. The bass has a lot of body, and I heard a different review, and it has a lot of impact. In my opinion, it hits you hard more than the Mojo. That's the funny thing, because people say the Mojo is like warm, a little bit warm. This thing has more impact. It's not warm, but it has more impact. It has a lot more hit to it. That means it has a lot of power. Oh, by the way, this thing can drive all the way to 600 ohm headphones, but it's not as powerful as the Mojo, but it's not bad. This thing is quite powerful. Now the mids seem to be like meh, they're right. Now the higher frequencies, they're a little sizzly, but they're smooth at the same time. So it's a bit like a V-shaped sound. So the mids are kind of recessed a tiny bit, but the bass and the high frequencies tend to pop out a lot more. The higher frequencies are really clear. They're really smooth. They're really nice to listen to, and the bass has a nice impact. And the mids kind of just make all that turn into music because they connect the both frequencies. The mids are alright, they're kind of nice on this. Now listening to this on the measure filter, it's obviously linear, so there's no messing around or equalizing or whatever onto the audio. As it comes through, it goes straight through onto this. And comparing to the Mojo is, and this basically tries to rival the Mojo. It's kind of there. But there's just something missing about this. It has more impact, first of all. The higher frequencies are a little less smooth compared to the Mojo. I should actually bring that in here. So they're a little less smooth, and the mids have so much more less detail in this thing. In fact, the overall sound has a lot less resolution and a lot less detail in it. So when I went back to the Mojo, I was like, what on earth is this thing? But when I went back to this, it was like, it's really close. But there's just something about the Mojo that just triumphs every other DAC that I've heard. And unfortunately, this is bad news for me. The Mojo is almost dying out, because so I left the Mojo fully charged and I took it out after 2 weeks or so, and it went all the way down to yellow. So I'm guessing the battery is kind of dying out or something, but I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. I'll get a new one. This thing, for the price, which is almost half the price of the Mojo, it comes very close. I really do like the sound quality, and the X bass thing adds a lot more bass to it. For open back headphones, that's really nice, but I think it just does a bit too much personally. So I mean, I like neutral sounds, you know, super detailed and everything. The soundstage on this is 2D. I'm thinking that's what makes this have a lot more impact. than the Mojo. And honestly, you don't need more impact than what the Mojo offers. The Mojo have 3D sound stage, so you know, it crushes everything in this price range. Now the 3D Plus thing, basically, as I mentioned earlier, it takes the sound quality from 2-channel and it pushes it forward. Now I've been listening to the Beatles 2009 remaster, and that's, you know, obviously mastered for speakers. If you listen to that on speakers, it's fine. If you listen to it in headphones, your head's gonna blow up or something. It's so natural, it's like so fatiguing. Oh, by the way, this thing has more fatigue than the Mojo, just so you know. And basically the 3D Plus thing fixes that by taking both of the signals and pushing them forward in a soundstage manner. So it's like the sound is coming from front, and it does change the characteristics a little bit. I think it gets a bit more brighter, in my opinion, I think. And you can have both of them on, so the X bass thing and the 3D Plus thing, both of them on, and it kind of equalizes that a little bit more. But honestly, I've kept all of it off because I like a neutral sound. Now in terms of noise level, this has a lot more noise than the Mojo, but if you pair up IEMs with this, as far as I can tell, this has come so much more close to the Mojo. Every other DAC is absolutely disastrous. Like, this has IE match built inside into this thing, and basically that lowers the impedance, lowers the noise flow of IEM, so there's no hiss. It's really quiet. And this is the closest I've ever seen a DAC get to the Mojo's noise flow. So that is really impressive. This beats all the other DACs out there when it comes to using with IEMs. So that's really impressive. And it also has, you know, a lot of power in it. And on top of that, it has Bluetooth. So basically it has more features than the Chord MOJO. But in my opinion, when it comes to sound quality, I think it's better to just plug this into the thingy Mojo, and I'm so happy I'm doing this review. I'm getting back into the Mojo now because I want to like listen to music with that thing, and I don't want to like mess around with this thing. It has too much features and I just keep fiddling around with them, like, does this sound better with this one, does this sound better with that, oh, what about this filter, do you want to like switch it around, and do you want to like make it better, sound better? Oh, it's a fingerprint magnet, by the way, so yeah, it's caught my fingerprints. I'm gonna have FPS coming over. So overall, the price of this thing is absolutely astonishing. I think if you're looking for a Mojo but you can't afford it, and you're not gonna end up buying it, I'm telling you that, you know, if you really can't afford it, this thing is a viable option. It's actually quite good. It's got Bluetooth, so you can pair it with your phone, and then right, it comes with these thingies, the sticky pads, so you can put them in here and it's connected to your phone. USB Type-C to full size USB out, and it will work. Now as far as desktop usage goes, you've got the software that you have to download, and that kind of comes with the ACO driver, which is gonna be used with this thing. You can use this without a driver if you want, but I don't recommend it. It works really well. The only problem is I think this is my unit. Whenever it switches between inputs, the sound quality inputs, and this actually indicates by changing the LED color which quality you're playing at. And it also supports MQA. In case you're wondering, the Mojo doesn't, this one does. So it's basically, you know, a lot more featureful. In my opinion, MQA is just a hoax, so I don't really bother. Now I think this is my unit, the one I've got over here. This thing is a bit messed up. As you saw earlier on, it just kept connecting and disconnecting from the music player. I think this USB is messed up, right, a little bit. And I'm thinking that's because the wire that came with it, the blue wire, is too stiff, and so it kind of pushed it to the side. And then whenever it changes the input, it kind of gets messed up. Now I'm updated the driver because I didn't need to, and iFi does recommend you not doing it unless you really need the higher quality sampling frequencies. So the first driver that comes with this is factory settings. It supports MQA and is optimized for MQA, where it goes only up to PCM 384 kHz and DSD up to 128, I believe. And then if you want to unlock the further playback sample rates like 768 kHz and DSD 512, you can do that by updating the driver by using the software from the iFi website. But what you're going to sacrifice is the loss of MQA support, so it won't be compatible with MQA. Now either way, I don't have file qualities that go that high, so I didn't really update it. I didn't really bother with that. Overall, I think this is a really good device. I highly recommend you checking it out. In fact, in the future, I am planning on getting IE Match, which is offered by iFi, and I'll review that. So if you want a Mojo, you can't afford it, get the Mojo, not this thing, because the Mojo is something special, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, they came quite close with this thing and the way it sounds, but the Mojo is just, there's just something about it in the sound that I don't think you can beat the Mojo. Either way, this sounds so much better than the Oppo H2 because it has more options and stuff you can mess around with, and it supports better frequencies, and also on top of that, it's better for IEMs because this has such a low noise floor when it comes to IEM support. Other than that, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go buy it. And thank you to iFi for sending me in for a review. I give it 5 out of 5, but of course the Mojo is a little different. Compared to the Mojo, it's not the same thing really. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions about this thing, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in another video.